Are you stressed because Christmas is fast approaching and you still have things to check off your to-do list? Well, stop stressing. We all want to create the ideal Christmas with beautiful decor, delicious food, and the perfect gifts. But the truth is, that is not what makes a memorable Christmas. Instead, we remember the laughs and conversations shared, the funny and thoughtful gifts exchanged, and most of all, the feeling of love. So today, let me share with you some of my favorite last-minute ideas for creating a fun and heartfelt Christmas that you and your family are sure to remember.
When I was in college, I worked in the china department of a small department store where, to save money, I was taught to wrap presents using only 3 pieces of tape, a technique that I continue to use today. To make this plain package seem extra special, I sketched on a small vase in the lower half of the box and then went over my pencil markings with a Sharpie marker. Then I placed some faux greenery to look as if it was coming out of the vase, and I used a piece of black electrical tape to hold it in place. Then I added a little bow, and because the greenery was taller than the box, I trimmed it up just a bit. Wrapping just a few presents like this makes all the presents under the tree seem extra special. I don't really like giving gift cards as gifts, so when I do, I like to wrap them in a thoughtful way. To create a card holder, I cut a mitten shape out of the large front pocket on an old sweatshirt. This way, I already had a front and back piece for my mitten and a little band to run across the top. If you have time, you could sew the 2 sides of the mitten together, but by this time in the season, I'm willing to take shortcuts and just hot glue the edges together. To dress it up a little more, I hot glued on some ribbon and a couple of jingle bells. This card-holding mitten could double as an ornament on the tree, or you could use it to embellish another package. Instead of using all store-bought gift tags, I like to make some of my own funny ones. I've linked mine in the description box, and you can print them out if you like, or you could make up some of your own. I printed mine on cardstock and punched a hole in each one to make it easy to attach to the packages. For holidays, I often use kitchen towels in the guest bathroom because there's always a much better selection. To make them even more festive, I hot glued pom-pom trim along the bottom. After attaching the pom-pom trim, I went ahead and washed the towel to show you that Gorilla Hot glue sticks really do hold up in the laundry. However, this cheap pom-pom trim got stretched out in the wash, so I used a better quality pom-pom trim on the towels that I actually intend on using in the guest bathroom. My family loves funny Christmas movies like A Christmas Story and Christmas Vacation, so I thought I would make a funny sign for the guest bathroom. I removed the design from a cheap thrift store wood block, and then I painted the block with white chalk paint. I created an image in Canva and then printed it out in a size to fit the front of my wood block. When decoupaging paper to wood, I always apply Mod Podge both to the wood and to the back of the paper before adhering the two together. This way, you'll have a few seconds to adjust the image in the exact position you want it. I let the Mod Podge dry, and then I used a sanding block to scrape away any extra paper along the edges. Then I sealed the image with another coat of Mod Podge. I placed the sign on the toilet tank, and hopefully Christmas Vacation fans will get a good laugh out of this. Still need a last-minute gift idea? Well, you can't go wrong with a picture frame. To come up with something unique and special, go to the thrift store and look for something that you can put a picture in. But don't look in the picture frame aisle. I purchased this mirror that had a very pretty wood carved frame. To emphasize the carved design, I gave it a couple coats of an off-white chalk paint, and when the paint was dry, I lightly distressed it with sandpaper. To seal the chalk paint, I brushed on some clear wax and then wiped off the excess. I printed out a picture big enough to cover the hole where the mirror had been and taped it to the back of the frame. I cut out a piece of brown craft paper to cover the back side of the frame since this was going to be a gift, and I just adhered it with glue stick and used a utility knife to cut off the extra. I also drilled a small hole in the top center of the back and screwed in a small D-ring. I absolutely love this frame, probably because it has a bird and flowers on it, but it is definitely one of a kind. I also picked up this hinged combination thermometer-barometer at the Goodwill. I removed the weather instruments, and because the wood was a little scratched up, I gave it a couple coats of black chalk paint. To give it a more aged look, when the paint was dry, I lightly distressed the edges with some sandpaper, and then I applied a coat of antiquing wax, wiping off the excess. I printed out pictures in a size to fit inside the weather instruments, covering up the face of the thermometer and barometer. Then I popped them back into the frame. One of the clear plastic covers still had a metal clock arm attached to the inside, and I decided to leave it there as a reminder of what this frame used to be. I hope you'll let me know which of these unique frame ideas you like best. I think you can probably guess which one is my favorite. Okay, I have one more picture frame idea. This time I'm using the small clear photo cubes from Dollar Tree. I printed out 12 small pictures to cover the sides of 3 photo cubes. I cut out the pictures and used glue stick to adhere them to the sides of the cardboard box that come inside the photo cube. Then I used a little hot glue to attach the 3 cubes together vertically. I trimmed off the edges of an empty ribbon spool, and then I hot glued an empty coffee K-cup to the top of the ribbon spool. Next, I painted the cup and the spool with a couple coats of black chalk paint, and when the paint was dry, I hot glued this black hat to the top photo cube. I dressed it up with some ribbon and a little faux greenery. Then I cut a small strip of fabric off of a thrift store scarf and wrapped it between the top and middle cubes to create a snowman scarf. And I finished it off with a big red button. I used very little hot glue, so both the hat and the scarf could be easily popped off after the season. Here's a little gift I'm making for my mail and delivery people who have been very busy delivering packages to my front door these past few weeks. To create a scarf, I tied a ribbon around an individual package of mini donuts, and I used a black paint pen to draw on eyes and a mouth. I didn't have an orange paint pen or an orange marker, so I just used a small brush and painted on a little carrot nose. If I do this project again, I'm going to look for some donut packages that have a little less writing on them. When I was at the thrift store, I also picked up this simple wood box, which I thought I could use to package another gift. To dress it up, I gave it a coat of fresh black spray paint, and then I cut a couple words out of a package of Dollar Tree transfers. I applied one of the words to a small piece of leather that I cut off a thrift store belt. I hot glued the piece of leather to the lid of the wood box. I applied a little antiquing wax along the two cut edges of the leather so that they wouldn't look freshly cut. This box cost me $1.99, which is cheaper than gift bags purchased at most stores. Here's another fun gift idea. Pop the ornamentation off of the top of an old trophy. Then sand down the sides and top and bottom of an old wine cork to remove all of the lettering. Then use a heavy-duty adhesive like Flex Glue or Gorilla Glue to attach the cork to the bottom of the trophy ornament. Add the cork to the top of a bottle and create a one-of-a-kind sticker for the bottle. I still needed to create a centerpiece for my dining room table, but I wanted something that would be easy to move out of the way, so I decided to create a vignette on an old cabinet door. I decided to remove the hinges for a less rustic look, and then I began arranging some thrift store houses on top of the door. You might remember these houses and trees from the suitcase village that I made in a previous video. I told you I'm constantly redecorating. I ran one long strand of twinkle lights through all 4 houses. Then I dumped a couple bags of Dollar Tree pearls onto the cabinet for an elegant version of snow. What do you think of the idea of using fake pearls as snow? Personally, I'm loving it because they don't make a mess on the dining room table and they are totally reusable. We've all seen the trays and platters turned into chalkboards, but if you're like me and not a fan of writing with chalk, here is an alternative way to create a cute menu board. To dress up your chosen tray, you could paint or decoupage it. I decided to apply some IOD transfers that I had left over from last year. Then I just hot glued a little clip on the tray to hold my printed out menu. To dress up the handles, I decided to wrap them with some green chenille stems that I had previously purchased from Hobby Lobby. I didn't glue the chenille stems on, but now I wish I had because I am absolutely loving these velvety handles. And I thought I'd show you what my sideboard looks like now since I've disassembled the suitcase village. To keep everyone at the Christmas dinner table just a little longer, I decided to create some conversation coasters. I sanded off the design from some inexpensive thrift store coasters. Then I printed out my conversation questions in a size to fit on the top of each coaster. I adhered the questions to the coaster by applying Mod Podge both to the coaster and to the back of the piece of paper, then carefully smoothing out any wrinkles with my hands. I let the Mod Podge dry. Then I trimmed off any extra paper, first with a utility knife and then with a sanding block. I applied a coat of dishwasher-safe Mod Podge to the top to protect the paper. If you use regular Mod Podge to seal the coasters, you'll want to make sure to use 2 or 3 separate coats. Now for some festive place setting ideas using things that you may already have around the house. Using sticks from your yard, cut the sticks into 3.5-inch long segments. Cut or sand off any small branches or bumps. Then hot glue 2 of your small sticks together. Also hot glue on a little fake greenery or florals. Print out names on cardstock, and now you have unique place card holders. To create a winter-themed place setting, cut up an old or thrifted scarf into several long strips. Mine were about 15 inches long and 4 inches wide. Then take those Dollar Tree metal words that come 3 to a package and spray paint them in a color to coordinate with your scarf. I used the words from a Christmas package and the word love left over from a Valentine's package. You can also add color and texture to an all-white place setting by using placemats. These green ones are from Dollar Tree. For the next place setting, I kept the centerpiece very simple with some brass candlesticks. I also printed out some vintage Christmas carols. I draped my napkin over a single dinner plate and placed the printed Christmas carol on top of that. I tied the silverware together using some simple gold ribbon and added a little greenery and a pine cone for embellishment. This next table arrangement, I printed out a Bible verse for each place setting. I also added some animals from old nativity sets next to the Bible verse inside the salad bowl. I hope I shared some ideas today that will make your holidays even more memorable. And if you haven't yet subscribed, I sure would love it if you did. Thank you so much for watching today. Hope to see you next week.